Right, guys, thank you for coming. Really excited about this one. You both don't know it, but you've been quite a big inspiration to me and my business, especially Luke. I know sometimes I've rang you with like certain situations about my business, and you've helped me out. We've got Mick from Combat Academy in Barnsley, and we've got Luke from X Martial Arts. So yeah, if you just want to give us a brief backstory, who's going to go first?
You can start, Mick.
Well, I don't even know where to start, what to say. Well, I've been involved in martial arts since I was 6-year-old. I've always been inspired by like martial arts films, Bruce Lee, Rocky, all that kind of stuff. When other kids were watching Care Bears and E-Man or whatever else were going on in the 80s, I were like big into Bruce Lee. I used to watch Rocky 1, 2, 3 on repeat from being like 3-4-year-old. So I've just been obsessed with fighting and martial arts all my life. When I was 9-year-old, my dad took me to see a kickboxing match, and it was the guy who eventually became my coach, a guy called Arthur O'Loughlin, is like an OG of kickboxing. He's been all over the world, fought in America, all the big names, and he defended his world title against a Dutchman, and he finished him in the second round with a jump spinning heel kick to the liver. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I remember being 9-year-old and thinking, I want to be that guy. I want to be a world champion. So I dedicated myself from then on. And I've had an amazing career as a fighter. I've travelled all over the world. I had about 30 pro fights, only 4 losses. I won British, European and world titles. And I was really, really credible. And then when I got to 30, that's when I won my world title, and I kind of achieved every dream and goal I'd ever set myself. And I was kind of like, well, what now? Because I got nothing beyond that. I don't think anyone when they're young thinks, what am I going to do when I'm 35? So I kind of like stuck, and I realised like I needed a new goal and a new focus. And at that point, I looked back over my life and reflected on the difference that martial arts had made for me. I had quite a tough upbringing, a lot of challenges, and martial arts is what had always kept me on the straight and narrow. And kind of without even being aware of that, I'd moved in my work life, I were a youth and community worker. So I used to work in local authorities. I've done work in criminal justice system, worked doing drugs counselling and drugs work as well with like adults who were in the criminal justice system because of the drug problems. I'd learnt all these skills with counselling, mentoring, helping people with life challenges. And I think I got to a point where I thought, well, I need to connect this up because martial arts has done so much for me. I'm not getting the outcomes in the public sector that I'm wanting working with these kids because you've got all these rules and you're shackled by guidance and the government changes their agenda all the time. I thought I just want to work kind of unrestricted with young people and make a difference. So I set up my martial arts school, and it went really well. I was making unbelievable differences, but it got to a point where I was working like 100-hour weeks every week. I was going 12 weeks at a time without a day off, and we're having massive success and getting all the rewards that I wanted, both financially and personally, spiritually, emotionally, feeling like I'm making a difference. But I was quickly heading towards burnout, and I thought, right, so I've established this new goal. I've done amazing things in my martial arts career. We're translating that now into helping the next generation, but I'm like losing my mind if I carry on. So I need to find a new way of doing it. And I think I just stopped and I reflected, had a little bit of time on it and thought, right, I really believe there's a different way. I think I can achieve the outcomes that I'm getting without breaking myself in two all the time. So I realised to become great at martial arts and to get where I did get, I needed great coaches, great mentors, and I needed to surround myself with the best people. So I thought, well, this is now what I want to do in business. If I can get a business that's systemised, that runs smoothly, that doesn't take so much of my energy, but I'm still able to harness and channel my passion into it, then that would be an amazing outcome. So that developed into my new dream. So I started investing in myself, working with business mentors and coaches. There was one period, I think about 4 years, where I used to read 2 hours every day, an hour on a morning, an hour on a night. I got into meditation and all kinds of stuff to manage myself and increase my own personal effectiveness and my own fulfillment from life. And that's kind of led me where I am now. And now I've got 3 martial arts schools. I've got a property company that I'm just developing and growing. That's going really well. I've got a martial arts clothing company, and I get to network and mix with fantastic people like you guys. So I'm at a point where the biggest challenges I think I faced were about 5 years ago, and just through education and working on myself, I feel like I've overcome them, and I'm now, I'm right at the peak. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still improving, but I'm really enjoying the journey. So it's been a great time.
What an introduction. That was good. Right then, Luke.
Thank you very much. My name is Luke Burks. As Dan said, I'm the owner of X Martial Arts Schools, which is based in York. I started my martial arts journey when I was 9 years old. I had a friend who lived in the next street down. He was called Luke as well, and he was a blue belt, and I wanted to be a blue belt as well. So my dad actually tried a few times getting me into martial arts, and there's a guy who taught Thai boxing in York called Andy Wilby, and it just never sufficed, so it never went through. So I ended up joining at the local community centre, literally round the corner from my house, and my first instructor was called Sean Warner, and he now lives in Australia. Don't think he does any sort of martial arts, but from there it built up. My main instructor, and I'll always say this guy was my main instructor, was Craig Long, and he was a lot more than an instructor to me. My dad passed when I was 12, and Craig was there for me. He supported me massively, a father figure, and he was just amazing to have around and have as a role model for me. I went quite far, not to the standard that Mick did. He went pro. The type of it's weird, isn't it, to people who'll be listening to this, because I did kickboxing, but you did kickboxing, didn't you? You did like real kickboxing.
Yeah.
We did.
Kickboxing's a little bit like athletics in the Olympics. So it's like if you say you do athletics, but you could do a 100-metre sprint, you could do marathons, you could do pentathlon, there's all sorts of stuff, and we kind of sat in different realms a little bit, didn't we, I suppose?
I'm from light contact kickboxing background, so which is primarily a mat sport. So when you go and compete, you're at a tournament, I guess. Where you went pro, it's ring sport. So I've quite often heard it referred to as flick boxing, especially by Thai boxers. They call it flick boxing. There's I'm not going to say who it is, but there's quite a well-known Thai boxer who referred to it as flick boxing, until my instructor beat him up at a tournament in flick boxing. I don't believe he called it that anymore. So I started when I was 9. I competed on the England team a few times, travelled. My first World Championships was in Germany. Since then I've been to America multiple times, Guatemala, travelled all over the world, so that's been amazing. My journey into owning a martial arts school is a little bit different to Mick's, where this is all I've ever really done. I was a waiter at a restaurant when I was 15, did paint and decorating for a year at college, but except from that I've always just taught martial arts. This has been my career. So I own one location in York, and then we have 4 franchises around Yorkshire.
All right, Mick, so let's touch back to your fighting career. What would you say like the highlight is? What was like the best part of it that you could explain to me?
I think the best part were the first couple of years. I had about I think the first year that I was competing, I had 11 fights scheduled that year, but I did 8 because 3 pulled out on me. But like nobody heard of me because I was quite big. I was really successful on the mat circuit as a kid. And then when I got to 18, I kind of discovered women and beer and all sorts of other craziness. And so I had a few years out, like we all do. And then when I was about 25, I got settled and I was in a good relationship and everything was great. I thought, do you know what, it's time now. So I literally went straight professional. So I'd had no senior amateur career. So nobody knew me, nobody could remember me. I had always flown under the radar. I'd won a few of the big tournaments and beat some of the big guys, but years had gone by. And I remember the first year I went pro, and they used to have the independent kickboxing rankings, and they were the top 10. And after my first 3 fights, I was knocking everyone out. Like I was known as a big puncher, so every fight were a knockout. And after my first 3 fights, I was fighting people in the top 10. And by the end of the first year, I'd started my first year of competing, nobody knew me, and I finished it at number 2 in the UK rankings, and I knocked everyone out below me. So that were an amazing time.
Wow.
It brought a lot of challenges though as well, because I had no pressure on me because nobody knew me, so I loved it. But then when I was number 2 and I was selling like 250 tickets in my hometown and everyone everyone were watching me, as the competition increased, I started to like, shit, I've got something to lose now. And I was starting to get more nervous, overthinking and putting pressure on myself. But that first year were unbelievable. But I think my biggest moment and achievement would be winning my world title. I've done some amazing things in my career that I'll never forget. But coming out from my world title and having utter confidence that it was my night and there was nothing that... Like, there's sometimes when you just get in your groove and you just refuse to lose and you just know nothing that comes your way is going to be a problem. I'm a big believer in, like, energy and focus, and I believe we do attract things into his life. And I remember when they signed the fight, I was 12 weeks out, I'd just been dipping my toe into camp, and I got a call and said, right, we've got your opponent. He's the IKF world champion. He competes in K1 rules and above waist kickboxing rules. And you're the number one contender, he's the number two, so you guys are going to fight for the vacant ICO title. And I remember sitting there and I got some music on, some song on, and it was like really inspirational. I can't remember what it was now, but like my heart swole and my mind just focused, and it was one of them weird occasions where your energy just aligns and I just knew. And I remember feeling like this powerful sense of gratitude for having this opportunity in front of me that I knew. It weren't even like an opportunity. It was like, I feel so grateful now that I'm going to become world champion. Like, it had already happened.
Yeah.
And the training were amazing. I got to work with the best team. I worked with Neil Kelly in Birmingham at Usker, who was the best of the best for me in full contact kickboxing. And it was just, the whole experience was phenomenal. And I knew coming out, it was my fight. He dropped me at the end of the first. I'd never been dropped up to that point. And I knew it was my fight. There was just no doubt, and it's just everything aligning, and your whole history and every experience you've had to that point all converging on this one point in time where you know it's your night. That feeling's just so empowering. So for me, that the best time was my first year, but the best moment was when I lifted the world title, I think.
Yeah, that's good. I remember, like, when you first put me onto Mick and you said, he's a serious guy, and I went off to YouTube and watched it, and I was like, whoa. But you're quite known for your fighters as well. They've got a reputation, haven't they?
Yeah, we did amazing things. So I remember when I were messing around and I won my world title and I didn't really have any goals, I was like, well, what would be great is if we had the recognition of the best martial arts club in Barnsley. And within about 6 months of pushing my club, we did that. And then I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we had the best fighters in the UK? So within 12 months, we just were prolific, and we went and competed everywhere, won everything. Within 12 months, we were recognised as probably at that time the best amateur club, because all my guys were younger, none of them were professional yet. And we held that for about 3 or 4 years. But within 12 months of winning my world title, I kind of set these goals, and I thought, these goals are small and I'm achieving them quite easy, and I need to start to think bigger. And I think that's when my vision started to evolve quite a bit. But we still maintain some of the best fighters in the UK. We're not as active or as prolific as we were because I'm big on the business side now. And I want to give some of my young guys, I think at the last independent UK K1 rankings that they did, we had more number one fighters in the number one of their respective categories than any other club in the UK. So we're still well up there, but we're not as active as we were. But my goal is to give them the opportunities that I never had. So I want to take them to the big promotions like One Championship and Glory Kickboxing that are really blowing up at the minute. So in order to do that, you need clout and you need money and you need a community behind you. And one of my big goals, our strapline for the Combat Academy, is transforming lives through martial arts, because to me, martial arts is the tool that elicits the life experiences that we need to grow and develop and build that confidence and resilience in order to be successful. So my big mission is to change as many lives as possible through martial arts. And part of that is to take some guys who've got the potential to go right to the top. Now, in building such an amazing connected community through the martial arts, that's one thing that we're doing, but then the weight of that community will get behind my fighters as well. So the vision's grown quite a bit now. So we're less active at the minute. Obviously, we've had lockdown anyway,
yeah,
but
I was gonna say,
we will be less active with the competitive side in the volume sense. I had 40 fighters at one bit, all competing at high level. But the elite guys that I've got, we're going to be getting behind them and taking them as far as we possibly can. So that's a big part of the vision moving forward.
Good to see. All right then, Luke. So we did previously talk about this just slightly, but business coaches.
Yes.
All right, that's been something I've been thinking about recently.
Yep.
So could you just give me your turn on that? And
yeah. again, my path has been very different to Mick's in terms of martial arts becoming a career for me. So through my instructor, he very quickly saw that he needed a business coach to take his martial arts school and business where he wanted it to be. So from 17, I think we was, or my instructor's martial arts school had a business coach, and we would attend coaches meetings twice a week. It was in Armley. It was a guy called Tony Hygo, who had a franchise of about 10 martial arts schools at the time, I believe. And for me at 17 to see the difference, because we was in a community centre at the time, or we just left a community centre as a martial arts school, and we were very competition focused. We do competitions every weekend, and that's the background my instructor was from, and he'd realised that to grow in every sense, to provide more for his members who want to compete, and to provide more for his instructors and more for his family, he needs to grow the business side. So we started seeing Tony twice a week, and the difference it made just having some guidance. When you're self-employed, and I think as an instructor, the type of person you are, you make all the decisions in everything. Mm-hmm. And like for me, the main like now for a business coach, I'm single, so I make all the decisions in my life. If you've got a missus, you probably don't. She probably makes all the decisions for you. But I make all the decisions. I'm the owner of X Martial Arts, so I have a team, but I make the decisions there as well. So having just someone who you can go and ask questions to, and someone who can give you guidance is massive. So I've been very lucky that right from the start, really, I've had a business coach in one form or another. And now we're at the point where we have a group almost, so it's like a mastermind group that it's called, and it's not just having that one coach that you can ask questions to. It's you're all on at a very similar position with all similar interests. I think that's the best way. That works really well.
Yeah, that's cool. Are you in that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of that with Luke, and to be honest, me and Luke have probably drove each other forward more than anyone in the last couple of years. Like I've worked with coaches, like one person in particular. I've worked very closely with Gordon Bircham. He's done wonders for me, and then being part of what he does, and then networking and building relationships. And we are at a point now where, I feel like interacting with my peers is the best form of education for me at this point. But the coaching for me was integral. But I've always looked at it like, for me, it's like I'm not about reinventing wheel. Like I always like the old Will Smith quote where he talks about running and reading. He says they're the keys to life. Like running is the key to life, because if you can master running and master that little voice in your head that says you've got to stop, your lungs are tired, you need to quit. If you can learn to not quit when that voice is kicking off, you're going to conquer yourself and you'll achieve whatever you want. And he says why reading is a key to life, because there's been millions and millions of human beings on the planet, and there's no new problems. So every problem that you're ever going to face, somebody's already solved it and written it in a book. So for me, when I got to that point of, right, I'm doing everything I want, everything I've ever set a real goal and dedicated me energy and time to, I've always achieved. Now my goal is to have financial freedom, to have a successful business that serves as many people as possible, to really make a difference. Well, it's really simple. I just need to find someone who's already done that, and then take their ideas. I'm not about reinventing the wheel. If someone's already solved this problem, find the solution and apply it with my spin on it, in my way. So it's very straightforward for me. Like I think it's the most obvious thing is, I think being a martial artist is like, if I want to learn to get better as a fighter, I need the right coach. Or if I want to learn to get better in anything, somebody's already got those answers.
We're all at very similar positions in our martial arts schools, but we're all facing the same problems at different points. Someone a really basic problem, so maybe sourcing a uniform, who has a supplier for this uniform, and Mick might have tied that down 2 years ago, and now I'm coming up against that problem. So it's just having somebody to go to. Or I've had a parent who's got this concern. Oh, don't worry, I had a parent who had this concern 2 months ago. This was our response and reply. Try this. Just having. We're all gonna face the same problems at different times. But some problem might be brand new, and we might be the first person out of our group to to experience it, but then at least you can share that feedback and then get some back from the team as well. That's one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, cool. So how would I'm going to ask this on every podcast.
Yeah.
How would your morning routine go? Which one?
This morning or every morning?
No, just a general morning routine.
So I've like I said, I went like about 5 years. We were all in on the personal development stuff, and one thing I realised is like self-care is everything. Managing your state, bringing the best version of you to every situation. So I've done this at varying degrees. I'm more inconsistent now than I've ever been, but I think if you do it consistently for a long time, it becomes a routine you can dip into when you need and not when you don't. So I think there's strategies for success and strategies for failure. Like if you it's like a recipe, like if you put the right ingredients, you're going to get the right result. So for me, morning routines are essential, but I'm not as vigilant with it as I used to be. But some keys for me is my best morning routine that I have, that I always revert back to when I feel like I'm losing a bit of structure or focus, is I get up first thing on the morning, I do some postural stretches because I'm getting to that age where I need to do some postural stretches, jump in the shower, and then I go and meditate 10 to 20 minutes depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm less focused and a bit more fractious, I tend to do 20 minutes.
When you say meditate, is it literally...
I just do a sit-in, breathing meditation. So I literally just concentrate on my breath, very deep breathing, and try and... The idea is, when I do it, is just focus on the breath and just let the other thoughts just pass by. Just watch them. Don't get in a dialogue or anything. Just let them be there.
What was
just
the rapid breathing you did at one point? Because I shared a hotel room with Mick once, and it takes forever in the bathroom anyway to get his hair looking like this. But I could hear this rapid breathing going on in the bathroom. It's the first time I've shared an hotel room with Mick, and I'm thinking, what is going on in there? I need you, because that was part of your routine, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I still, that after the postural stretch, I didn't mention that actually. I got this from Tony Robbins. It's like a fire breathing thing where you're just breathing in and out through your nose. I've done that, and I've also done the Wim Hof one where you almost feel like you're like breathing so deep you're going lightheaded and dizzy and stuff. But
hyperventilating.
Yeah, breath is what gives us life. And you can go like days without food and water and stuff, but you can't go even a few minutes without breath. So it's essential to everything we do. And there's loads of different breathing exercises you can do. So yeah, I played around with something called fire breathing, which I think is a yoga technique, and it just wakes you up. So if you're feeling sleepy or whatever, and you do this for like, I think it's like 3 sets of 30 inhalations, like in and out, rapid through your nose, as deep as you can. And I'm not going to do it for you. Like snot can come out and everything, so you're not going to get a demo.
I've got screening, isn't it?
But yeah, so I do that, and it just, I'm alive straight away. I don't feel like I need that as much anymore. But yeah, so I do postural stretches and a bit of fire breathing sometimes. I have a shower, meditate, just a normal breathing, mindful meditation where I'm just watching my thoughts. And I think the idea is being the observer and detaching. And I'm not a meditation expert by any means. This is what works for me and bits that I've learned. So I'm the observer, and that's my true self. And then everything else, thoughts, feelings and things, that I just let them pass and I watch and acknowledge them, but I don't get in a dialogue with them. So it's like, I don't know, if a car were passing, if you think of being on a busy road and like the cars are like your thoughts, if I hear a car or see a car and I think, oh, I wonder what that car is, I wonder who's driving it, I wonder where they're going, I'm in dialogue with it. Do you know what I mean? But if I like, that's a car, what you start to recognise is there's all these thoughts, and you have in rapid succession all these variety of thoughts. And one of the mistakes that we make is our ego tends to identify with a thought, and then we believe that we are our thought. So like for some people say like, I'm so angry. And I literally, this is an example actually, a guy a few months ago went past me in the gym when we had gyms open and stuff. And he's like, I'm so angry today. And I'm like, no, you're not angry. You're experiencing a thought of anger. Like the anger's the emotion linked to some kind of thought. This thought is stimulating that emotion, but you are neither your thought or your emotion. And he's like trying to get his head around it. And I think that's what meditation does. You see that your mind will kick all these stuff up, but it's not you, and you don't need to identify with that. And just by sitting and watching that process unfold, breathing, not getting in a dialogue, not connecting to it or identifying with it in any way, just letting it be, you start to see that there's you, and then above all that there's all these thoughts and feelings, and sometimes it can be like frivolous to get involved in them too much because it's not really who you are or what you're about. You get to choose which thoughts most serve you.
That's been, yeah, I like the way you just put that out then.
Well, I hope it makes sense. It's what works for me, I'm by no means an expert.
This is exactly why I invited you both here today, because like stuff like that, I'll just soak that in and I love it. Can you say it again? Luke, we actually go back to the highlights because I didn't actually ask you. So what would you say the highlight, maybe not your fighting career, but maybe just the highlight of XMA?
Sure. If I had to pick a highlight of my fighting career, I only ever competed really as a junior. I have competed a couple of times as an adult, and I just haven't put the effort into it that is required. As a junior, I had lots of people always come up to me and say, you'll be a world champion one day, you'll be a world champion one day, and that has never come through. And I get asked quite often, will you compete again? And I just don't have the hunger for it, if I'm honest. And you go to a tournament and there could be... The tournaments are very weird as well because you don't know how many people are going to be in your section. There could be just you and another person, there could be 8, there could be 16. I tend to fight at, or did fight at under 70 kilos, which was quite big section, so there could be 8, 16 in a section. But every other person in that section wants it. Or you'd like to think so, or they wouldn't be there. If you go and it's half effort and you haven't fully committed and fully trained, you've lost before you even step on that mat, and it's not something I really want at the moment. So when I set out what I want for the future and the goals, I like the idea of being a world champion. I like but how many of those people who are who have trained for 12 weeks or they've dieted and they've done everything as they should, they don't like the idea. They want it. Like when Mick talks about when he won his world title, he won it 12 weeks before he stepped in the ring. He was saying thank you for letting me come in and winning this world title. He already knew. Where I don't think I've ever been in that place where Mick said the doubt had crept out. There was zero doubt. I've never been that strong mentally, I don't think. When I step into fights, even when I've seen people fight before and I know that I can beat them, but the doubt's there still.
Yeah.
So I never got to the level I would have liked to have been, but also I guess I never put the effort in or the dedication into. So I didn't deserve to win that world title because it just wasn't one of my main focuses, and I didn't put all that. My focus was somewhere else, and if I'd have bottled up that energy and effort and put it into that, then I'm sure that is something I could have achieved.
I think anyone who knows Luke as a martial artist and who's been around him, everyone knows he's well capable of winning a world title. He's got all the requisite skills, talent, knowledge. But I think from a young age, you've dedicated yourself to channeling that into developing the next. And I know you've trained a lot of world champions, and I think that's the thing. It's like, having the ability is one thing, but having the desire is another thing, and that comes from it's a complex thing, his desire. And I think Luke's been really lucky in that he got to teach martial arts from a young age, and you were always giving back and sharing, and that's sometimes more fulfilling than doing it yourself. So I think it's very hard when you've got that outlet for you to then like harness that and turn that into desire for yourself and for your own career and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a good thing for your students, but I guess for you, it's a box that you've not yet ticked. But I still think that Luke could go and do that if he wants to, but it's whether or not you do cultivate that desire.
I honestly, without bigging myself up, I do think if I put the time and the effort into it, and I have such good network of instructors and friends around me, that if I'd needed to get to that standard again, I think I could do it. But I don't want it enough, to be honest. And like Mick said, I have produced, or our schools have produced multiple world champions. And again, this is where world champions are different, aren't they, to me as they are to you. So I don't want to take anything away from my members who have won world championships, but I also don't want to take. I want to be real to people who don't know anything about martial arts as well. You call them differently. The World Opens, aren't they? A world medal. So when the World Championships that we go to, you could go to if you wanted and enter. It's a bit crazy, really.
Yeah.
So you need to come first, second, or joint third at the national championships, and then you are invited onto the England team, and then it's essentially an open tournament. So what you can go all the way to Florida, and we've done this before. You train for your 12-week camp before you qualify in March. It's not till November, and you can go all the way to Florida, and there could be no one in your section. So literally no one in your section. So you either move up or you don't fight. Or you can get there and there's one other person in your section and they're from England. So it's an England versus England straight final, and it's 2 2-minute rounds where like Mick, when he was pro, world title is, how many, what rounds are you?
12 rounds.
12 rounds, yeah.
Rounds.
I've never done 12 rounds in my life. Over the period of it.
I'll try and avoid it if I can.
Yeah, knock them out in 3. Yeah.
It's quite
over the period of the day at a tournament, if some of the fights, some organisations are 1 2-minute round, and then you have a winner, and then you progress or you don't. So you could have 6 or 7 fights in that day. So over the period of a day, you could be doing 12 rounds. But it's very different. But do you win 1 world title?
Yeah.
So if I then compare that and say that one of my fighters, Cole, has got 8 world championships. He's won 8 world titles. He has, but he's won 8 gold medals at an open world championship. So there is fighters from all over the world, hence it being called a world championship. But it's not you've had to progress through the rankings like boxing or kickboxing, and then the number one contender.
I think the open circuit's like the first rung on the ladder, isn't it? It's like what it does. It kind of like at each level, it steps up. So at the open championships, they're open pretty much to anyone who's in martial arts. You do have to qualify at nationals, but if you enter enough categories, you can do that. The guys that win the medals, like, because we win a lot of them as well, and some of my guys have won it easy. They've had straight finals, like Luke described. But then other times we've done like 8 fights to get there and fought some absolute monsters. So it's a legitimate achievement, and it's very recognisable. But what happens is beyond that, then there's another level which is like we call gala shows. So you have a night show where it's 2 guys matched, a bit more like boxing. It's in the ring, and it's 2 guys matched based on having equal age, weight, experience. And then if you come through all that, then you get offered titles. And then if you come through that, you keep going up. And there's levels to it all. So it's like, I don't know, I guess winning like a world title as a professional like I did, it's kind of like winning the Premier League. Whereas winning a World Open is kind of like, I don't know, winning... I wouldn't say Sunday League, because that undermines it, because there's some great athletes. But generally what happens is there'll be hundreds of athletes going to the World Opens. A handful of them will go into the pro ranks, and then a handful of the pros. And then above where I work, which is like the Champions League, you then get invites to promotions like Glory, where everyone's a world champion. Yeah. All the best world champions from all over the world fight each other. And I were kind of just at that point, and there were interest on a few big promotions. And they were kind of like, right... So I can earn good money now, and I can cash in on my name and my world title. But if I get injured, I'm done. So a little bit kind of like what Luke did. I achieved my goal, and that was my dream. So it meant a lot to me. And my next stage was, well, I can go and be a fighter now for the next 3 or 4 years. But if I get injured, that's me done. Or I can have a living for the rest of my life. And you know what? There's a lot. Sometimes there's more satisfaction in taking someone to where they want to be and helping them achieve their like my dream is to see other people achieve their dreams. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I got to where I was, but then there's a level up from me. So like, and a good example of that would be someone like Raymond Daniels, who fought on all the same circuits that me and Luke did on the mats growing up, and then he progressed onto other promotions and things, and now he's been on Glory and Bellator and all the big, you know. And
I think going back to what Mick said about the different leagues as well, one of the problems is, so Raymond Daniels is a perfect example, he's had to actually change styles to be able to do that. So when you say kickboxing, sport karate, points fighting shouldn't be called kickboxing in my opinion.
I agree,
And I think that people who are from a points fighting background are doing it a disservice by calling it kickboxing. Be proud of what it is. It's sport karate.
It's an amazing art as well. Yeah. And it does, if you move into kickboxing, you look at Raymond Daniels and people like that, it's a phenomenal skill set that gives you skills that are more advanced, more developed than a lot of the guys that are coming from a Muay Thai background or just pure kickboxing background. And you look at like Michael Venom Page,
he's from sport karate,
and he's absolutely destroying like Thai boxers and stuff.
I know
it's an amazing skill set, but you've got to know how to transition it. But yeah, I think there's just levels to it all, isn't there? I think,
and for those doing like continuous kickboxing and sport karate, there isn't a next level without changing style. Right. So like Mick can be on these gala, like there's a couple of light contact fights on a gala show, I guess, but they're just space fillers, aren't they? Really, it's full contact kickboxing on these shows, and that's where the belts and the title ranks come in. But for sport karate and kickboxing, that's our Olympics. That's our Olympics, where you go to the World Championship. And this might sound like madness to anyone who doesn't really know martial arts listening to us, but those who are doing sport karate and kickboxing, they pay to go to the World Championship. So they fundraise, they pay for the trip to represent England, and they go to this tournament, and then they even pay for their section, their category on the day. And this is why we'll never have that next level that like full contact kickboxing has, is because there's too many people making too much money from these from these massive tournaments. And I tried doing it in York. You came and filmed for me actually, and I hired the it's the Central Hall at the university where they do all the graduations.
Amazing venue, that, right?
Unreal venue, but it was an absolute fortune. It cost a fortune, and because so for a parent of someone who does sport karate and light contact kickboxing, you can go to a sports hall and pay £5, £6, £7 to spectate and watch fights all day. And your son or your daughter can do 4 sections, 4 categories that day, and you'll watch them fight all day. So then when to pay for the venue and to pay for the promotion, we then had to charge £25, £30 for a ticket, which is very normal at like a gala show, isn't it? So it's getting a different audience to try and move over to that model. It was a complete flop. It was a fantastic event. The venue was amazing. The setup was great. But from a business point of view, it lost thousands. It didn't work. And that's one of the problems. Like Mick was saying, completely different like levels and paths for these different sports, and it's so wrong that all these different type of martial arts are all bundled under the same name of kickboxing, because they're completely different things. In my opinion, they're completely different things. Would you say that? Would you?
Yeah, I agree completely. But the sport is in a mess. But I think they all are, and like boxing's no better. And even like you win the Olympics in boxing, but the Olympic champion's not ready to go and fight the world professional champion. Do you know what I mean? So everything's got levels to it. And then you've got world champions in boxing, but then you've got likes of Canelo Alvarez, and so it's like there's always another level up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I'm proud of where I got in it, and I did really, really well, and I learnt a lot, and my goal is to harness that learning and channel it into my students so they take it to the next level, and just exactly the same as what you're doing, Luke. And I think that's all we can do, is just pay it forward to the next generation, and hopefully the sport will just get more organised and get in a better place, because there's some phenomenally talented athletes at all levels as well, that really deserve a lot more recognition and support than what they actually get at the minute from the public and the government and everyone else. So
yeah, cool. Right, let's flip the conversation now. So how could you tell me about video content for your business and why it benefits your business? Whoever wants to go.
Massively, yeah. Do you mind if I
go on?
Yeah. So I brought Dan on board with my business because
my first monthly customer.
Yeah, and that was a new model for you as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I have a graphic designer on a similar model of. I just pay him a set fee each month. Some months we use this amount, some months we use this amount, and it just evens itself out. But it's nice just knowing you have it there. On tap really when you need it. But for me it was the combination of amateur video, still
powerful content,
so powerful, because people like real as well. People
definitely
love real because they can relate to it, they can connect with it. So the selfie video, they're going live on Facebook, but having that professional content as well, just completely takes you to the next level, I think. And I'm always striving for our brand and our business to go as professional as possible, as next level as possible. So having that professional setup and having the Meet the Teams is something fantastic you've done for us. The promo videos for our website, even to the point that one of our instructors, we were very fortunate that you took him under your wing for a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
So we have, as well as Dan supporting us, we have one of our instructors who has, so I'm told, because you told me, an amazing camera. I think it's one-off being Netflix approved if we went one level up. Because I'm like that, I do like the best. So one-off Netflix approved. So he films a lot of our stuff, creates promo, and I think it's just so important to show the audience, to get them into your business and showcase what you really do. It's massive.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think everything nowadays, marketing's changed very much. It's not about companies, it's about people. The social media revolution has changed how people consume content and information. And I think the key is now they want to be able to relate to you on a personal level. And they say a picture speaks 1,000 words. Well, how many words does video speak then? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You need to be able to connect with your audience, and there's no better way of helping them know, like, and trust you than letting them have an insight into what goes on, what your values are, what you like as a person, what your staff's like, what the experience is like for your customers. I think it's absolutely essential. And to me, video as a media has never been more accessible or easy to use ever in history. Like your Facebook page is like your own TV channel that you get to broadcast to the world. What better advert for who you are, what you do and what you're about. I think we talk about this a lot. Like at one time, you go to martial arts and you go to your local martial arts school. And this applies to any business as well. You go to the one that's on the end of the road or in your village or whatever. Nowadays, you could literally have 2 martial arts schools smack at side of each other and both would thrive because you get to create your own market on Facebook.
Yep.
Like there's someone for everyone, and that applies in business as well. There'll be people that see what I do and love it and it'll resonate with them. And then there'll be people that see what I do and think, that's not really for me. It doesn't appeal to my values or what's important to me or what my goals are. But then they might look at what Luke does, which, you know, we've talked is different. They might think that's exactly what I want. And I think the beauty of being able to have this channel where people get access and insight into what you are, what you're about, enables you to create your own market so that all your businesses can thrive, because what you're doing is the right customers are getting, you'll be able to target the people who are right for you, and they get to find out all about you thanks to this social media platform and the ease of access with video and things like that.
That is the good thing about social media these days. You can target your audience as well and stuff like that.
I think it's so important with so to the typical person, if you said martial arts to them, what's out there at the moment in mainstream media? So what martial arts is portrayed in the mainstream media? It's UFC. So it's UFC, it's MMA, it's dress it up as much as you want. It's cage fighting. So when you've got little 5-year-old Johnny who wants to develop confidence and discipline and respect, if all mum or dad have seen is this high level, really competitive, bloodthirsty sport, that could be a massive turn off for them. So when you're able to show exactly what happens in your junior programs or your age specific programs through the form of video, that can completely change their context on it. So for a long time, we do martial arts birthday parties, and for a long time we used to, we call them karate parties. And we had we supply the invites now because we had one parent call it a kickboxing party, and we had like 2 kids turn up, and that was it, because all these parents didn't know what a kickboxing party was. So if you type kickboxing into Google, what comes up? And it's these people in a ring fighting, and it's their perception of it. So by able to really cater and show what you do through videos, except from them being in your facility, I think video is the best form of communication.
What's the next step? What's next in line? What have you got up your sleeve? Next 5? Well, on the last podcast I said your 5-year plan, but I won't say that this time. Let's just say we'll go with.
For me, we're just recovering from lockdown. Yeah. So we've had a massive mission for the last 18 months is to get like 1,000 members. in our community. We were just at 1,000 members before lockdown, and then now we're recovering. We've only been up in a couple of weeks, and we're nearly back on that now. So 1,000 members is a big personal goal that should happen in 2020. It's going to happen in the next month or so. And the thing about that is, because like we're very big on community. Like I understand. Like I'm teaching my guys about like my personal philosophy, the principles, virtues and values by which I live, and I think black belts should live and martial artists should live. And these are like life skills. So it's like I want to transform lives through martial arts, through education, personal development, and using martial arts as a tool to provide the challenges that we need to develop the resilience and skills to be what we need to be successful in life. So for me, 1,000 members is a big one, because when we hit 1,000 members, which we're just within the touching distance of now, it's not just 1,000 members, because each one of those brings the mum and the dad, they bring the sister. You're talking like 3,000-4,000 people, all part of one connected community, who we're connecting through social media, through events, through this shared experience of the martial arts journey and how it's affecting them and all their family. So the big mission for me is to hit that milestone. And then I've got 3 schools that are very, very successful, and we offer great quality martial arts. And I think for me, I want to consolidate those 3 schools, keep developing. And I always see everything I do, even managing my staff, it's just all the same thing. What I want to do is I want to mentor and support people to self-actualize, to reach their potential. So even my staff, I'm seeing them, the people that I'm working with, they're just students that they've got to a point where now they've got so much from what we've done, they can now pass it on to the people. So I'm working on lots of things for me, like I'm involved now in property, in the stock market, in cryptocurrency, and I'm learning all these different things, because I think I want to get to that point where I've got that fuck you money, where I've got complete autonomy. I can do what I want to do, when I want to do, not answer to anyone. So we're going to consolidate as martial arts schools and make them amazing. I'm going to continue to work on me and get to that point of complete financial freedom. And then I want to teach my staff who are on a similar journey to I were on. I want to get them to that point as well. So I want to change people's lives at every level. In that, there will be new schools opening. But everything now is I've created what I wanted to create. I want to help my students create what they want to create under my banner, under my brand. So there'll be more schools, but it'll be organic, and it'll be driven by their passion, their purpose, their focus on creating what they want to achieve in the world. So we're at 3 schools. We're going to consolidate. We're going to maximize their potential, which I think actually sits about 2,000 members across the 3 schools as well possible. We'll pass the 1,000 member milestone, and then we'll just keep growing and doing what we do. But I'm going to keep working on me, developing and trying to bring that back to my guys so my team can evolve, and then they can help the next generation, and it just feeds itself and keeps going on. So there'll be more schools and stuff in the future, but I don't need to quantify exactly what that'll be anymore. I used to do that. I've got like a book, and I write all my goals and everything in, and I literally looked at the other day, the book's full now. I've been running it since 2017, and it's no longer a book of goals, it's actually just a book of accomplishments, because I really believe that what you write, you invite. It focuses your mind, you activate your reticular activating system, which is the part of your brain that switches your eyes on to look out for opportunities that help you fulfill your vision and your goals and what you're trying to achieve. And so writing's really key. So like I said, that's a book of accomplishments now, and I've learned a lot about how to win at life, and I want to pass that on right through the generations, and not only pass it on to the guys under me, but have them passing that on to the guys under them. So that's going to be like my little legacy and my mark on the world. So the next few years I will get specific with goals, but it's definitely going to be driven by the people who are surrounding me, because these guys are amazing and they deserve every opportunity to be the best they can be. So that's kind of where my head's at now, is it's all about my own personal growth, so that then I can contribute to a wider mission.
That's cool.
I think just to echo what Mick is saying, really, I'm very a bit flippant in what I want to do next, where 1 month I want to do this, and then 1 month I still want to do this, but should I do it this way? Or but I'm all about, like Mick said with his people, is build a bigger table, like bring, like, as you become bigger and become more successful, build that table bigger and invite more people in who are there to support you all the way through. And a massive change in my life at the moment, and I think one positive over COVID and lockdown that's come from this is learning that other people's definition of success can be completely different to you, and that's okay. So probably if you speak to my staff who've been with me a while over the past few years, they'll all agree that I live, breathe, eat XMA, and this is my definition of success. And I really struggled if that were their definition of success, and if they wanted to not work summer camp because they valued the time with their family more, or if they didn't think this was a good idea because of whatever personal reason, because their definition of success didn't align with my definition of success. And that was a big struggle for me. I think going forward, just focusing on giving people the way to reach their version of success. So I'm all about, I want my instructors and my staff team to benefit and to be able to do whatever they want. So for some people, like we have incentive-based bonuses, and we spoke to our team, and one of my team, they don't get money bonuses, they have time. So if they hit a certain incentive, they get extra time off, because that is more valuable to them. Or sometimes they might want something that I could give them the money to go and buy, but it just means a bit more to them. So it could be a laptop, for example, or it could be a spa day or something like that. So what's next for me is, at the moment, again, because I change, you can interview me next week and it'll be completely different. But at the moment, again, and just echoing what Mick said, really focusing on what we've got and making that stronger and stronger and stronger, rather than growing outwards with more locations. So that has always been. How many times do you see other school owners just go, let's open another school. I've got an extra member of staff team. Let's open another school. And
it's a scary time to do that, though, as well, I think.
It is, but I also think it's an exciting time as well to do it. So we are actually, I don't know when this is going to go out because our members don't even know, but we are actually moving one of our part-time locations into a full-time centre. So that means moving out of a community centre or a school hall into its own facility. That's actually happening next month, but we haven't told our members yet. And that is a worrying, scary time with potential, I don't think it'll happen, but with potential further lockdowns and things like that, where with a school hall, if you're not open, you don't have rent to pay. With a full-time unit, you have the rent to pay regardless. I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest. This is what I mean.
I think what's interesting, what you were saying about the personal model of success and supporting that.
So different.
What I really enjoy doing now is leading and mentoring my team and helping them understand that. Because what I've found, and I think the lockdown has been a massive example of that, is most people are walking around in a trance. Yeah. They're literally hypnotized by the world. They're not thinking. They've got no sense of personal power. Their locus of control is external. They think everything that happens is not because of them, but it's happening to them, and they don't have any influence in it. And I think that's massive. So like my mission, just to echo what Luke said there about, supporting people towards their personal model of success, is to help people build that self-awareness. Because I think there's two things that's sorely lacking in modern day, and I think it really comes back to basic intrinsic martial arts values, and that is about awareness and responsibility. And I think people are walking around without any awareness of those attributes and the importance of like own your shit. Do you know what I mean? Realize that the world's happening for you, not to you. Like, so get in charge of that, because the energy that you're putting out is coming back on you, and the feedback that you're getting from the world is a reflection of what's inside you. And realize that, like, being mindful of that, building self-awareness, creating that emotional intelligence to understand yourself and your impact on others, and start to look at the world in a different way of what do I want and how can I positively affect the change I want to see. That starts with you. So I see my job, especially with my younger staff, is just to help them build that self-awareness and not just coming from a place of, look, you can have whatever you want if you want it enough and you focus on it, because I really believe where focus goes, energy flows. But actually saying, like, let's start with yourself. What's going wrong? Just look deep inside yourself and then look outwardly and what do you want to create? Because while you're here, we're here for a short period of time, and you can leave your imprint on the world and leave a legacy, or you can just be one of those people that's in a trance, following orders, following instructions, and never really affecting change in the world around you. So for me, I think that talking about that personal model of success, I think that's absolutely perfect. And it's about helping people understand what that is for them and how they can actually create that. And I think that's kind of, so the next few years for me, it's going to be helping my people grow and then growing myself so I can be better at doing that for them. So that's why I think to pin down what the Combat Academy is going to be in the next 5-10 years, it's grown bigger than me now, and it's an expression of all the people in it and the people that are the driving force behind it. That's not me anymore. We just hit our 10-year anniversary, and we're at a point now where it's far bigger than me. So my job is to harness that energy and let it organically grow based on the passions, needs, wants and desires of the people that make it what it is. I'm not the only stakeholder anymore, and I suppose for me to get my head around that, I've got to grow and increase my concept of what I've created in the world and then enable others to make that their own. So I suppose for the first time ever, I can't say exactly where it's going to go. And that's pretty exciting in itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was asked on the first podcast. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, or where do you want to be?
He's bringing it back to me.
I know, yeah. I think it's interesting though as well, because
no.
I know you're doing this for other businesses, but you're a small business owner yourself, and we're martial artists, so we do the same thing, even though we do it differently. So the same challenges I'm having, Mick is having, and we tend to talk to other martial arts schools owners. So it'd be interesting for us to know what.
Yeah, well, I'm still a relatively small business, really. I've just recently taken on an apprentice. He's doing really well. I would like to get somebody else on board, and I think 3 is enough right now. I don't really want any more staff than that. We do have plans to expand into a bigger office soon, where we're going to turn it into a film studio and rent that out, to other people, and just keep growing the business. Really, I would like to be that sort of, instead of known as a videographer, more of a social media content provider.
Sure.
That's the avenue I want to be down, is working with businesses. I mean, I do love making music videos, but if the artist isn't signed to a record label, there's just no money in it at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I want to be. I just want to keep growing and working with businesses.
Fantastic.
Cool.
No, it's what you're saying about your staff. From a visitor on the outside, you can feel the energy straight away in both of your clubs. It's a nice place to be. Positive vibe.
The thing is, I feel someone who is treated as a member of staff, purely as a member of staff, that's all you'll ever get out of them. They treat it as a 9-to-5 job or whatever. Where, and I don't know, I don't like to categorise it as this. I think it's a little bit cheesy, but it is like a family almost. You've got it, and everyone. When we have problems, we all deal with the problem. And when we have success, we all deal with the success. And this is why I really want to understand people's why and people's definition of success, because I want to serve that the best I can. Because if my definition of success is this, and that's not yours, and I'm trying to serve you and say thank you by giving you my definition of success, that isn't going to fit you, and you're going to leave. And when you've got some real winners on your team, but you just don't understand their definition of success, and you lose them just through lack of communication or poor communication, that would be a big regret. So for me, I left my instructor because our visions just didn't align, and what I wanted out of it. So I wanted recognition. I wanted recognition, and I did get that for a time, but we just went on different paths, and it was a really tough thing, but I'm glad we did, because I wouldn't be where I am now, and my instructor wouldn't be where he is now if I didn't leave, and I wouldn't be able to serve the people that I serve and my team. But I don't want to make it, because in my opinion it was a mistake. I don't want to make that mistake with my team just through lack of communication and not understanding where they want to be. Not everyone wants the same thing as you, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, and do you know what I like that you touched upon there? You said that word family, and it is very much a family. Like, I had a point where I was growing and taking on staff a few years ago, And I recognised that I had some people that were like labours of love, and they'd come through with me and they've built up, and then they were getting opportunities. And then there were some people who were just staff that I'd set on. And I had a crossroads where I had a decision to make. And there's pros and cons of having an arrangement where it's a family. And managing that it can be a rough terrain. You've got to have strong boundaries in place. And there can be some challenges, but then having a situation where they're all just employees, they're basically mercenaries, they're not fighting for a cause, they're fighting for the wage. And I made a decision that moving forward, I kind of got rid of all the staff, and now all of my team are all in. And what I try to give them is, I suppose it's a little bit my values though, but I do hope they all appreciate it, is I give them freedom. I never liked jobs that were 9 to 5. I always had jobs where I had flexible time. And when I did have a job that were 9 to 5, and you'd have these jobs with managers that were sticklers on it, even though you're outperforming everyone on your team, you're getting more work done, you're more productive, but they needed you there at 9, and 9:10 weren't good or whatever. And I'm notoriously terrible with timekeeping, although I do try to be better. But there's a rumour that I might not be that good. But so I kind of want to give them that freedom that I crave. Like, I never tell people what to do. Everything's a negotiation. They'll always be heard. There are times when I might have an executive decision on something, so look, we're going this way because it's my baby, and I'm coming with all this experience and knowledge. So, but I have heard what you've said, and I have considered it, and I'm also very aware that having been managed badly and well in the past, I've had some great managers and bad managers when I were an employee. I recognise that the bad managers are very means orientated. They want you to do it how they would do it. And the good managers are ends orientated. They just want the results. And I try and focus very much on the outcome. So I work with my staff. I try and give them training. I inform them. I teach them how to project manage, how to plan, monitor, work towards specific goals. So it's all outcome led. But then when it comes to their work, I don't care how they do it as long as they get the outcome that I want. Because I recognise everyone's need for individuality, for freedom and flexibility. And I try and provide that for my staff, because that's what I value most. And I think for the most part, they really, really appreciate it. And I think, so I took a decision a long time ago that, family were going to be our focus, and we're very connected, we're very together. And what that means is I get more from them when I need it, but then when I don't need it, I give back to them, and they get that flexibility in time. Like, we have annual leave and we do everything as it's meant to be, and it's all recorded. But in reality, if my guys have used their annual leave and they get a chance to go away for 2 weeks, they're going to go away on full pay, and the rest of the team's going to come together and do it. And nobody takes a piss or pushes the boundaries, and everyone appreciates that. And we've just got a great setup for that reason. But I did realise about 3 or 4 years, there comes a point as your business grows, you're like, right, I've got 2 paths in front of me now. And I just didn't want to be that corporate, strict, regimented environment. I want to be a place of freedom where, because martial arts is very much self-expression, and teaching martial arts is self-expression. So that's a creative process. We are martial artists. And I think if you create a structured and regimented environment, you're nullifying that innate creativity that's in all of us to go out and self-actualize and self-express. And I think I'm very, very mindful of the environment that I create. And I think that word family is intrinsic to what we do. And I think as we grow more, and we talked earlier about creating your own market, people getting to know you on social media, know, like and trust the company before they want to be involved with it. Well, for me, if it's coming from a place where everyone gives a shit and we're super passionate about what we do, and we've got a piece of us in our work, people are going to buy into that more. They're going to be inspired by that more. So I think actually we're moving to that place where the old corporate environment and the regimented, systemized setup, I don't think it serves people anymore, not in the sense of your customers, in terms of your staff. So for me, I work very hard to create that.
I think a negative of myself is I micromanage too much. So I will, again, listen to other people's input. They think they should do it this way. And sometimes you do have to make executive decisions. But one of the things I've done is I've created an at-home office. And 2 days a week I'm going to work from home, because I don't want to be at the business micromanaging all the time. And it is very much, I'm not at the business at the moment quite a lot, and they're getting results. But you can only do that, and I know Mick, if you leave them to it. But once you have this ethos in place and they understand your core values. So when Mick says, I'm not bothered how they do it as long as they get the result, his staff know that we have to do it however we've got to do it, but we've got to follow our core values along the way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to how well you onboard your staff and educate them, how much clarity you've created around what your values are. It's shocking how many companies don't even really know what their values are. They've got an idea, but like ours is written on paper, like this is what we're about, this is our mission, this is where we're going. And then I think it's how you lead and guide them as well. So yeah, although I'm saying there's no structure in how they're expected to work, but the structure in terms of how I onboard them and train them, how I source them as well, because you've got to have the right people on board to start with to follow those values. And then like my job now is like leading, so I try and avoid micromanaging, but what I do measure their performance, and then we review that and we talk about all the challenges. But my staff know they're allowed to make mistakes, they're allowed to get it wrong, as long as they're learning and they're growing from it. And I think you've got to create, in order to have that. So I'm talking about a situation with no structure, but that is built on a bedrock of solid structure, but structure that's got room for manoeuvre, I think. So even though it's I would call it semi-structured, I guess, they've got freedom, but I've set some boundaries and parameters that ensure that freedom stays within that, if that makes sense. So, but they're all there because they believe in that as well. So it doesn't feel like an effort for them to be that way. But if they're the wrong people, and ultimately, people moan about staff a lot, but if you've set the wrong person on, that's your fault and you need to deal with that. So straight away, they've got to be the right person, coming with the right philosophies, wants and needs, and then you've got to educate them, guide them and steer them, and then it's just a case of monitoring and supporting, and then you can have that freedom and flexibility, I think.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for coming on, guys.
Bob, thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us. Thank you.
Cheers.